Good morning, everybody. My name is Russ Snyder. I'm President and CEO of Volunteers America Chesapeake. We have a very special reflection for lunch today. You'll be hearing more from the Garner family later in the program, but now I'd like to introduce Mrs. Deborah Garner to give today's reflection.
Children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my need. A lonely place to be. And so I've learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself, it is the greatest love of all. I believe the children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, you can't take away my lonely place. Find your strength in God. Woo. Good afternoon, Volunteers of America. That was terrible. Let's give that another whirl, and I need some help from the Garner table. Good morning, Volunteers of America. B+. I think we're going to change that, though, over the next 20 minutes or so. For those of you who get very anxious when things get off schedule, just a scotch, let me assure you that we have contingency plans in place. No one is going to be stranded here at the hotel. We're not going to be late for our worship service. So if the clock ticks a little past 1:45, please don't start panicking and stampede out of the room. We will make sure we get to everything and everybody gets to where they need to next. So we're going to turn up the volume a little bit here in just a minute. But what I can guarantee you is that you will not leave here the same people that you came in as, because the family you are about to get to know is truly extraordinary. At Volunteers of America of Illinois, a key part of our ministry of service is child welfare. Unfortunately, the terms child welfare and foster care often get used interchangeably. I say unfortunately for two reasons. First, foster care is a means to an end. It is not meant to be a means unto an ends unto itself. And secondly, when we say foster care instead of child welfare, it makes it far too easy for people in the system to forget that children are always and unequivocally supposed to be what is at the center of that system. For deeply personal reasons, child welfare is why I became a social worker. It's what I committed my professional life to many years ago, to social work and to human services. One of the reasons is quite simple, because I am blessed with the opportunity to work with some extraordinary people, like many of the people at this table and those two tables over there, who have such extraordinary hearts for this work. But it's really about the families that we get to meet, the kids with indomitable spirits who endure so much and never give up hope. You have already met the beautiful matriarch of the Garner family, who blessed us with her incredible gift of song and music this morning during the reflection. Now you are going to meet the Garner children. Now there's a few things you should know about the Garner children that you will meet up here on stage. None of these children came into the world as Garners. They all had very different journeys to becoming part of the Garner family. Some of those journeys were short, and they don't know anything other, blissfully, than being a part of the Garner family. But some of these extraordinary kids had a long and difficult road to becoming a Garner. Roads they don't dwell on, so we won't either. All 7 of the children you are about to meet were adopted by the Garners through Volunteers of America and through 2 of the wonderful women, one of whom you've met, Miss Kim Gray, and the adoption attorney who actually handled legally all 7 of the adoptions. So again, just let's reflect on that. 7 children. They adopted 7 children through the child welfare system. And did I mention that the Garners, before adopting these 7 children, had 5 biological children that came before? So if there's a picture of what abundance looks like, I believe it's the Garner's kitchen table. Every time I think of the Garner family, the first thing I think about, for reasons I can't say, but they will know, is thank you for giving Jeffrey his smile back. When I think about the Garner family and so many others like them, although I can assure you there are very few others that are quite like them, I am reminded of a song by Stephen Curtis Chapman that says, "When Love Takes You In." Cue the music. I'm kidding. So the table here was just like, oh, she's not going to sing it, is she? No, thankfully, blessedly, I am not going to sing, because while I will acknowledge I have gifts, that is most certainly not one of them. But I want you to imagine for a moment, as I share some of these words with you, that you hear soft piano music playing. But more importantly, I want you to imagine that you are 6 or 7 or 8 years old and living in this big, wide world by yourself. And what you want more than anything else is to be part of a family. The song starts, "I know you've heard the stories, but they all seem too good to be true. You've heard about a place called home, but there doesn't seem to be one for you. So one more night you cry yourself to sleep as you drift off to a distant dream, where love takes you in, and everything changes. A miracle starts in the beat of a heart, when love takes you home and says, you belong here. The loneliness ends and a new life begins. And somewhere while you're sleeping, someone else is dreaming too, counting the days until they hold you close and say, I love you. And like the rain that falls into the sea, in a moment, what has been is lost in what will be. And my favorite line of all, that the Garner children have learned so well from their parents. And this love will never let you go. There is nothing that could ever cause this love to lose its hold. These words touch me so deeply because at Volunteers of America of Illinois, we have kids throughout the system and even in our program who have been in the system for far too long. And we know the toll that takes. We see the pain in their eyes. We hear the longing in their voice when they ask what's going to happen next. We feel their heartbreak when they get moved again. And like the song says, then a miracle comes along, like the Garners. And love takes you in, and nothing will ever be the same. Mike King said it so beautifully years ago, we are in the love business. Well, what you are about to see is what the love business looks like when we get it exactly right. This is what happens and what it looks like when love takes you in and says, you belong here forever. It is my great, great joy to introduce you to the Garner family.
Nobody can say no when Jesus says yes. 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 Nobody can say no. I'm not worried about a thing.
know you are guiding me. Where you lead me, Lord, I will go. I have no fear, 'cause I know who's in control. There's no limit to what you can do, 'cause it all belongs to you. Yes, it all belongs to you. You're almighty and all powerful. Yes, it all belongs to you. Yes, it all belongs to you.
Jesus say yes, nobody can say no. 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 When Jesus say yes, nobody can say no.
You guys were awesome. Great job, great job. Next, I'm going to introduce you to a man you will never forget after this morning, the patriarch of the Garner family, Bishop Troy Garner. Now, after spending some time with Bishop Garner, there are two questions that will undoubtedly jump to your mind. The first is, what does that guy eat for breakfast? Because I want to get some of that. His exuberance and joy for life and everything it has to offer is truly remarkable, even more so in the face of some of the things he's had to face. I thought I was an extrovert until I met my husband. I thought my husband was an extrovert until I met Mr. Garner. And I realized that we're not even anywhere in the same league. The second question you will undoubtedly ask yourself after meeting him and spending time with him is, I wonder if he will adopt me. I know I'm grown and all, but whatever God has cooking in that family and in that home, I want in. Let me tell you a quick story. A few months ago, my husband and I were driving to Wisconsin, and he said he wanted to introduce me to this cool new radio station that he had found. Now, for those of you that know my husband, he's a pretty intense guy, so I'm immediately skeptical when he wants to introduce me to something cool. But he was right. It was actually a very cool radio station. I think it's called Velvet or something like that on Sirius XM. And it was this great radio station where I heard songs that I had never heard before but thought I already knew. I was really struck by the lyrics in this one song, and I typed the main lyric into my phone so I could remember it, because while it sounded kind of weird, it also struck me that it meant something really profound, and I wanted to think through what that could mean. And here was the lyric from that song. It said, "You can't dance in a hurricane unless you are standing in the eye." I turned this over and over in my head because it really affected my heart before my head could get around it. And then it hit me. It's about the courage to stand in the middle of chaos and still find joy. And almost in the same instant that came to me, I thought of Bishop Garner and his wife. Their unique ability to take something that the world has really messed up, like the utter chaos and human chaos that surrounds the foster care system, and find God's grace right in the middle of it. Now, it'd be very easy to oversimplify their story and just say, to look at the situation as it currently exists and say, wow, those are just really nice people with really big hearts who opened their home to some incredible kids who are really easy to love. All of that is certainly true, but their journey was much more difficult than that oversimplified summary would suggest. At times, their journey required a level of faith and unconditional love that few might be capable of when faced with the same hurdles the system put in front of them. And I can assure you, I use the term hurdles very loosely. Bishop Garner and his wife are people that refuse to ever give in to cynicism about people or situations. I had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time in the Garner home, in particular, a few years back when one of those hurdles appeared in front of them in the system. Like it often does, the system had gotten something very wrong, and we had to work very hard to get it right again. What Bishop Garner doesn't know is that at the time I was spending quite a bit of time with them and actually in their home, I was struggling with a pretty big loss of my own. And Bishop Garner, by his example, showed me what it looked like to really trust God, even in your pain, and to trust that God will make things right. And going even further, he showed me that there is even joy in what is still there, even in the inescapable reality of what was lost. So, Bishop, I thank you for giving that to me during such a difficult time. See, the longer people are in the child welfare system, the longer they have to personally be affected by its limitations, its injustices, and often its inequities. It's so easy to become jaded and to lose faith. After a particularly bad situation, one staff member even said to me, "I think God has left foster care." But the Garners have never given up, never given in to that cynicism, never lost faith. Certainly their stories about love, it's about family, but at its core, it's an incredible story of faith. It's the story of a remarkable faith journey that with the size, the unbelievable scale of their hearts, the Garners were uniquely qualified to take. It is my pleasure, my great privilege, and my joy to introduce you to Bishop Troy Garner.
And everything changes. A miracle starts with the beat of a heart when love takes you home.
What a pleasure it is to stand before you today. I'm a pastor, and I've been pastoring now for over 25 years and married to one woman, 32 years, September 1. When I met her, we had an agreement, and the agreement was, you sing and I preach. And I mean, you better sing. And she looked at me and said, you better preach. But a lot of times, she has messed me up before I preach because she sang so well that I started to cry. And so, baby, we've been doing this for years now, and now I'm excited now. Today marks a special day to me. The year was 2005. And I pastored this church in West Englewood, Chicago. At that time, that was the #1 murder capital of the world. We had a striving church, and every Monday night we had prayer meeting. And what started out as this little church that I got called to, called the organization, they only sent me to the churches that had problems. I wanted a nice cathedral and, with a waterfall down the middle aisle and 4 or 5 choirs and buses and televisions. Instead, they sent me to a church that didn't have a camcorder. But howbeit, one Monday night, this little lady walked through the door. She had just been released from the Cook County Penal Institution. And she came in on one of our prayer meeting nights, and she said, I dreamed of you. I had a pair of blue jeans on and a shirt. I just got off of work. See, I'm bivocational. And she attended prayer meeting 3 times. After that, we got a call in 2005 on Palm Sunday. and said, that young lady is trying to reach you. So immediately after church, myself and Deborah, we hopped in the car and we went to the hospital. But they wouldn't let us see her or the baby. At that time, there was a worker for VOA. Her name was Loanne Tan. I'll never forget that day. She called me up that Monday and she says, Bishop Garner? I said, yes. She says, your god sister has just given birth to a little baby and she wants you to take it. And I says, what? She gave birth? They said, yeah. I said, oh. And so my wife is a school teacher, so I called Deb on the job, and she thought something was an emergency because they pulled her out of the classroom and brought her to the office. I said, Deborah, she said, what's that? I said, Connie gave birth to a little baby, and they want us to take the baby. She said, my baby is 16. And I said, what we going to do? She says, take the baby. So I called Miss Loanne Tan back, and she wanted everybody's social security number that lived in our house at that time. At that time, we had a small house at that time. And it was so funny that by the time I got off work and pulled my vehicle in the driveway, there was a lady I never met with a baby in a car seat. And she says, I want you to meet Elijah. And I looked over, and I said, oh. And so my wife got off work, and she came back, and I says, Deborah, I want you to meet Elijah. Now, we had a baby that passed away, and when Deborah looked at Elijah, he looked just like the baby named Michael of ours that went to heaven. And Deborah looked, and she says, nothing but tears came out of her eyes. And this little bitty baby, his weight was about 5 pounds, and he was drug exposed, but he was ours. 3 months later, we found out that she had another baby in the system. So they gave us that call again. And we said, bring him on. And so Deborah, we traded in our 300C for a Ford Windstar. And the next year, she had another baby, and we got the call. And the next year, she had another baby, and we got the call. See, 5 of them are naturally brothers and sisters. So the last 3, when she had those babies, my wife Deborah, we went to pick the kids up from the hospital, and she sat in a wheelchair and carried them out just like she had given birth. And and I was walking through there, come on, baby girl, let's go. And then after that came another one by the name of Jeffrey. And we went to meet Jeffrey at VOA, and me and my baby, Deborah. We went to meet Jeffrey, and when we saw him the first time, he looked at me, and he says, hey, Daddy. So I told Miss Gray, I have one agreement with you. If they check in, they don't check out. And they have to have my last name. And we went through and got Jeffrey. And then after Jeffrey, 2.5 years later, came one named Rodney. But then Rodney changed his name at the adoption date from Rodney to Joshua, because he said he fought the battle of Jericho. So, me with myself, I kind of canonized all the children. I'm going to make sure you all get to heaven. I'm going to saint you all since I'm a bishop. So when I call your name, just stand up and wave your hand. I think I have one going to sleep. Cornelius, who's the oldest, where's Corn at? That's Cornelius St. John. He's the beloved. And then there's Jeffrey, the heart stealer. He's named after me. That's Jeffrey St. Troy. And then the first one that started all this stuff is Elijah the prophet. He's Elijah St. James. Then the first girl, when she was born, I was preaching a series on your date with destiny. And Destiny showed up at our house. That's Destiny St. Anne. And then there is Rodney, who changed his name, so now he's Joshua St. Paul. And here's the baby boy, that's Zachariah St. Mark. And then the baby, she's 7, going on 77, is Tebra. See, we ran out of names, so my wife spells her name D-E-B-R-A. So we dropped the D off of Deborah and put a T there, and you end up with Tebra. And that's Tebra St. Victoria, after the Queen. Every day in our house is a day, it's a day to remember. Try making 7 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and for 3 of them, you have to take the edges off the bread. Or just try existing in my house, and you wash 7 pair of socks, but only 6 pair come out of the washing machine. Or don't lose a hair pick. Or as for me, yesterday, the boys and I went to the barber shop to get a haircut. Now, walk in the barber shop with 5 boys and yourself, and the barber shop is already crowded at 7 o'clock in the morning, and each and every one of them have their special design on how they want to wear their hair. We walked in at 7 and didn't leave out to 10. And the minute we walked out the door, they was talking about, Daddy, see the golden arches? We're hungry. And so that's how it is with the girls getting their hair did, or my baby Tebra changing her clothes 32 times in one day. And so that's how our day exists. Or when they run out the garage to the driveway and run to the corner to get on the bus, and I'm chasing them at 7 in the morning. Or I'll get a call from Jeffrey, Daddy, I left my book bag. Or Elijah, Daddy, I forgot my project. Or something like that. Or Cornelius, who decides to be Michael Jackson in the midst of art class. That's what our days are like. And so that's what we experience as the Garners. How we got here, I could never explain to you, because we didn't desire this at first. But there was a small seed planted in my family by the matriarch of our family, and she's gone on to be with the Lord now. Her name was Carolyn Virginia Cochran. In 1975, she became a foster care mother, and then an adoptive mother. The interesting thing is that in this huge house, which was the Reformed church at first and converted back to the house, is that my grandmother fostered 19 boys. She did this in memory of her son, who was 18, that got killed in the Vietnam War. This strong lady was somebody you want to meet. And her words to us was, there's nothing like a family. And everybody deserves a family. My grandmother, from 1975 to 2001, helped any and everybody in the neighborhood. And you would think that she would have had a sainted ending of life. But at the age of 74, she helped somebody in the house. He didn't have a place to stay. And while we were at church and just made it home from church, the same man she helped was the same man that took her life. At 74, in a wheelchair. At 74, with congestive heart failure. At 74, dealing with diabetes. At 74, she was still helping someone's life change. And so he took my grandmother's life, he thought. And I didn't want to have anything else to do with anybody else from the outside that was going to come into my home. But lo and behold, God has a plan that sometimes we're not exposed to until it's time to walk in that plan. Just like he told Abram, He says, Abram, get up out of your daddy's house, and I'll take you to a land that you know nothing about. But because you know nothing about it, Abram, does not mean God does not know nothing about it. Because I believe in our society, God still changes. And God still works on the hearts of his people. So my babies walked into my house, and I looked at them, and my mind went back to my grandmother, who was born in Birmingham, Alabama, who would often tell me stories that went such like this. I come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in his holy word because he never failed me. And I watched her raise all those boys, and guess what? None of them failed her. And her God never failed her. Even though she died tragically because he took her life, and I had to stand before my grandmother and give the final salute, what went through my mind was, as I looked at that body in that casket, I thought about the years from 1975. I thought about the barbecues and the Christmas and all the anniversaries and all the birthday parties. I even thought about all the time we had to pick up those guys from jail because they got in trouble. But we were still there, and my grandmother says, hey, those are my boys. And I thought about that. Now, y'all know I'm a preacher, so I'm finna turn the corner like a black preacher go do. When I thought about that, my mind went to a hill called Calvary. And I thought about how my God gave his life for what he believed in. Were we fit? No, we were not. Did we qualify? No, we did not. Were we the esteemed? No, we were not. But the Bible says, while we were yet in sin, Christ died for our sins. Red, yellow, black, and white, we're all precious in his sight. So he died one night on a tree. He died so much that the earth began to shake. He died so much that the temple veil began to rent from the top to the bottom. He died till the moon was dipped in blood. He died till the twinkle twinkles wouldn't twinkle in the sky anymore. He died until dead men got up out of their graves. He died to the fact that one soldier said, surely this must be the Son of God. But I got to tell you something today, VOA, that ain't how the story ends. Because he said, no man takes my life, but I lay it down, and if I lay it down, I'll pick it back up again. And he did just like he said. When the women came to the tomb to anoint his body, an angel cried out and said, why are you looking for the living among the dead? He is not here, but he has risen. When he got up, all 7 of them kids got up with him. When he got up, you got up right with him. When he got up, he made ordinary people extraordinary people. And that's today why we're called the sons and the daughters of adoption, because his dying adopted us in to this royal family. I wish I had a keyboard here. I'd tell them to put me in E flat right now. But I come to tell you today, listen, your living is not in vain. When I heard the story about the preacher, my God, I wanted to run through troops and leap over walls. When I heard of all the different accomplishments, Mrs. Gray, to the adoption attorney, Miss Dr. Valerie, you went to adoption court with us 7 times, and you saw me and my wife coming there with changing clothes with kids 7 different times. Nancy and Patrick, when they took one of our babies with us because there was an error, they saw me crying in the office, and Nancy said, y'all get this man out of my office because I can't believe he's crying like this. But see, they're mine because I gave him my last name. See, when they were born, their last name was Bogus. But I had to make sure I take that bogus attachment off them and give them a royal name like Garner, that they would never ever have to look for a daddy, because in the words of Michael Jackson, I'll be there. And so, in my conclusion, if I can help somebody along this way, then my living won't be in vain. If I can do my duty as a believer ought, then my living will not be in vain. Even with dealing with cancer in stage number 3, I'm going to raise my children, and my living shall not be in vain. So I compel you today, if you have an empty bed, don't let your living be in vain. I compel you today, if your heart is big enough to make a change, don't let your living be in vain. You know why? The kids will not come. They must be brought. They don't know. They must be taught. They will not seek. They must be sought. So if you know somebody, tell somebody that we can help save a life of a child. God bless you in Jesus' name. God bless you. Thank you so much. Now, you've heard the babies. Now we're going to let you hear from one of the biologicals. We have the biological children. We have Troy Jr. He couldn't be here today because he's a minister of music playing the organ at the church that he's attending. And then our oldest daughter, Jean, she resides in a place called Piccadilly, England. She's the first African-American paparazzi exclusive to the Buckingham Palace. What do you think about that? And then my baby daughter, Carolyn, she runs the assembly line at Ford Motor Company. And then our other son, Kevin, he teaches jazz music at Olivet College in Bourbonnais, Illinois. They wanted to be here, but they couldn't make it. But don't worry, I gave them all green envelopes and told them to put an offering in it for Daddy. But I want to bring to you our daughter. Her name is Deborah. When she was conceived, we had just buried our son named Michael. And the interesting thing about it was we was going to name her Deborah. Then Deborah said, no, let's use the biblical term, Deborah. And when she was born, we gave her the nickname of Snack Cakes. Little Debbie Snack Cakes. She came home singing, amen. She's been singing ever since then. Some of you might have seen her. She appeared on season number 3 of the television show, The Voice. She was one of the finalists on that show. She's Daddy's baby. She's the only one that can calm me down. She's the only one that can get in my pocket and get the money also. She sings like her mom, but she looks like me. Hi. I want you to put your hands together for my daughter, Deborah Darlene, music trapper, Garner.
Really quickly, before you press play. Hold on. Hey, y'all. So, we just had church. I don't know what to do behind that, other than make you feel good. Everyone said it. Love is the biggest thing that the world is missing right now, honestly. It doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, sexuality, clearly, all of the above. We need to love just a tad more. And if you can't love, if you don't want to, can I leave you with my motto? One that I teach all across the United States of America when I'm traveling. Give the benefit of doubt. Is that cool? Here's my song to you, and I hope you pass it along. Let's go, you guys. I bet you know it. just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand? Hey, stand by me, stand by me. If the sky that we look upon should tumble and fall, or the mountain should crumble to the sea, yeah, gotta do it again. I won't cry, no, I won't shed a tear, just as long as you stand by me. So darling, darling, stand by me. Oh, stand by me. Won't you stand? It's great. Stand by me, stand by me. Single people, it's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do. Hey, baby, I think I wanna marry you. Like Bruno Mars. Just say I do. Ooh, tell me right now, baby. Tell me right now, baby. Whenever you in trouble, won't you stand by me? Yeah. Thank you.